Giadiva Harja agus Falcha Arash go Irish with Rosie. In this video, I want to talk with y'all about how to say, "Where are you going?" in Irish, and then answer that question. And as I'm talking my way through this video, you can follow along on the notes that I have here on the other side of the screen. And after you watch the video, if you want, you can go to my Facebook and Instagram to view these notes separately. So anyway, the first thing we need to do is ask somebody, "Where are you going?" To say that in Irish, we'll say, "Cá bhfuil tú ag dul?" Cá bhfuil tú ag dul? So the word cá means where. Will is a dependent form of the verb to be. To means you. The word ag means at, literally, but in Irish it can function, like in this case, as almost the equivalent in English of adding ing to the end of the verb, like changing go to going. And dul means to go. It's not the actual verb to go, which is che in Irish. It is the verbal noun, but don't worry about that right now. Just remember, cá bhfuil tú ag dul? Where are you going? To reply to that question, you'll start with tá mé ag dul. I am going. Now, quick note, I've heard people pronounce ag dul like a gull, almost as if the D isn't being pronounced, or as if it's spelled D-H-U-L, which would be pronounced gull in Irish. And I don't know if that's like an Ulster thing, or if that's just some people say it that way anywhere in Ireland, but you might hear it that way. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be pronouncing it ag dul. But anyway, after you say, "I am going," you'll need to add the word to and then a place that you're going. But in Irish, there are 3 different choices for the word to, depending on the place that you're going. The first version of the word to that we'll look at is if you're going to a place. And the reason I stress the word a in a place is because in these situations, you won't be going somewhere that starts with the definite article the. So you're not going to the restaurant or the store. You're going to a place, generally. So in these situations, you'll want to use the preposition go. So for example, I'm going to a new restaurant. Tá mé ag dul go béal an nua. It's not the new restaurant, it's a new restaurant. After the word go, if the place name starts with a vowel, you want to add an H before it. So for example, I'm going to a hotel. Tá mé ag dul go hóstan. Go hóstan. Óstan is hotel. Go hóstan, to a hotel. You'll also use go for to before most place names. So for example, Tá mé ag dul go Belfast. I'm going to Belfast. Or Tá mé ag dul go Héireann. I'm going to Ireland. Now, in contrast to going to a place, if you're going to the place, instead of using go, you'll use go gee. Go gee. So, for example, I'm going to the store. Tá mé ag dul go gee an siopa. Tá mé ag dul go gee an siopa. Or I'm going to the hotel. Tá mé ag dul go gee an tostan. Tá mé ag dul go gee an tostan. Don't worry too much about that T hyphen prefix on ostan for now. You'll see that T hyphen prefix before singular, masculine, definite nouns that start with a vowel in Irish, such as ostan, hotel. A singular definite noun is a singular noun that starts with the. So the base word for hotel is ostan, but when you say the hotel, you'll say an tostan. But that didn't really matter right now. I just wanted to explain that in case you were wondering why the T hyphen prefix was there. Anyway, also in Irish, there are many country names that start with the definite article un, which means the. And in those cases, if you're going to one of those countries, then you'll need to use go gee. So, for example, I am going to France. In Irish, France is an rank. An rank. You're literally saying the France. Not every country is like that. As you saw in the previous example, I talked about I'm going to Ireland. It doesn't have the before it. But France does, along with a lot of other countries. So you'll need to say Tá méid dul go dtí an rank. Tá méid dul go dtí an rank. Another example, I'm going to the Egypt. Tá méid dul go dtí an Egypt. Tá méid dul go dtí an Egypt. Okay, the last version of the preposition to in Irish is chuig. Chuig. I've also heard it pronounced like heg. Either one. And it's used if the place you're going isn't like a physical location, but instead an event. So, for example, a wedding. Banish. I am going to a wedding. Tá méid dul chuig banish. I'm going to a wedding. Now, if the event includes the definite article un, so therefore you're going to the event, the following noun is eclipsed. You can find out more about the concept of eclipsis in one of my previous videos, which I'll link down below. But basically, most consonants in Irish have a special buddy letter that in some cases gets placed before them in a word and eclipses the original sound of the beginning of the word. So, banish, wedding. The buddy letter for B is M. So if you're going to the wedding as opposed to a wedding, you'll say Tá méid dul chuig an manish. I'm going to the wedding. The M took over the sound of the B in banish, an manish. Now an exception to that is if the word starts with L, M, N, R, S, or a vowel, which are uneclipsable letters, then you'll just leave it as is. So for example, I'm going to the luncheon. Tá méid dul chuig an lón. I'm going to the luncheon. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind is if the definite noun event starts with a vowel that has a T prefix, then after chuig, the T prefix is dropped. So, for example, an ténach, the fair. But I'm going to the fair would be Tá méid dul chuig an éineach. I'm going to the fair. But be sure not to confuse those types of nouns with nouns that start with T, S. The T is kind of like a prefix, but it doesn't have a hyphen. And these will all be feminine, singular, definite nouns. When those nouns come after chuig, you leave them alone and you don't drop the T. So, for example, the word sochrage means funeral. The funeral is an tochrage. After chuig, you leave it alone. Tá méid dul chuig an tochrage. I'm going to the funeral. Now, to change the sentence from I am going to someone else is going, like he, she, we, they, you simply get rid of the may in tá méid dul and replace it with one of these pronouns here in this list. So, for example, to means you. Tá tú ag dul. You are going. Shiv is the plural of you, so it means like y'all. Tá shiv ag dul. Y'all are going. Mudge, we. I have the pronunciation there spelled like mudge, but it's like mudge, like in book. I couldn't find like the double O with the breve on top to indicate that, so I did the next best thing because I didn't want to put a double O because it's not like mudge. Anyway, tá mudge ag dul, we are going. Sé is he. Tá sé ag dul, he is going. She, tá she ag dul, she is going. Siad, tá siad ag dul, they are going. Now I have a little asterisk note there on the bottom of this slide. Some speakers will mesh the words may, me, or mudge, we, with the verb ta, to be, to create a new word that's a verb pronoun combo. So time, I am, as opposed to tame. You could say that if you want to. Or tamage, we are, instead of tamuj. So it just depends on what you prefer. I think both of these combo words are most commonly used in the Munster dialect, I think. But I think they're also considered standard, even though those in Ulster and Connacht I don't think would use these as much. But you can choose whichever way you want and use that one. Now, let's make our original question past tense. Instead of asking, where are you going? Let's ask, where did you go? To do that, we'll ask, Kanyahatu. Kanyahatu. Where did you go? Now, in my note under that, I have in Ulster, nyaha is only pronounced nyaha before personal pronouns, like tu, you, kanyahatu. But before nouns and like proper names, it's pronounced nyahi, nyahi. So, for example, kanyahatu, where did you go? But kanyahi on fire, where did the man go? But anyway, to answer kanyahatu, you would say huame, huame, I went. And similarly to the previous word nyahi, you'll only pronounce hua like hua before personal pronouns. So huame. But before regular nouns or personal names, you'll pronounce it hue, hue. But anyway, for my first example sentence, I have huashe gojian bark, which means he went to the park. In this case, we pronounced hue like hua because she is the subject of the sentence and it's a personal pronoun. Huashe gojian bark. But if you were to say something more like Paul went to the park, then you'd say hue Paul gojian bark. Paul went to the park. Now, just like with most words, there's different pronunciations for hue throughout Ireland. And I don't know, referring back to the word nyahi, I don't know what that pronunciation for that word would be other than Ulster, because I focus most of my pronunciations on Ulster, but I try to do standard grammar rules. But I do happen to know a little bit more about hue, how that's pronounced in the other dialects. So I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all what I know in case you are learning a dialect besides Ulster in pronunciation. Maybe this will help. Okay, so from my research, hue in Ulster is pronounced hue by itself and before nouns, but hua before personal pronouns. In Connacht, it will be pronounced hua in all cases, no matter what the following word is. In Munster, it'll be pronounced huig before regular nouns and personal names, but hua before personal pronouns. Oh, and I think I read somewhere that in like the north of Connacht, there are some people who will pronounce this fue before nouns and personal names and by itself, but fua before personal pronouns. Alright, now there are some instances, just like in English, where you won't need to use an equivalent for the word to say where you're going or where you went. So I have some examples here. Tame egdal awalya, I'm going home. Hue Sheila amach, Sheila went out. Tashe egdal ishtach, he is going inside. Tamuj egdal agree, we are going running. And last, huame egkampo, I went camping. Now, of course, these are just some examples, but I think they give you a good idea of the kind of sentence that won't require a version of the word too. But don't worry, I'm going to give y'all some more examples in my next video. This is going to be part 1 of 2 parts. This is just to establish like the structure of how this works, and in my next video it's going to be all vocabulary based, just to add more like place names and event names and stuff like that that you can use in these sentence structures. Alright, last we have a bonus fact, and that is when the place you're going starts with a possessive pronoun, use goji, just like you'll use when the place you're going is the place with the in front of it. So for example, I'm going to her house. Ta megdo goji achach. Or we went to my apartment. Huamaj goji marasan. Huamaj goji marasan. Sean is going to his room. Tashan agdol goji ahomra. Tashan agdol goji ahomra. Sean is going to his room. And for more information on how Irish possessive pronouns work, you can watch my video on it, and I'll link it down below in the description box. And I don't have it here, but there's actually one more bonus fact that I forgot about, so I'll just tell it to you vocally. So we talked about how to say where you're going and where you went. And I think it's important to note that when you say I'm going so-and-so place, just like in English, that can be present and future. So you might physically be walking out the door and telling someone, I'm going to the store, and you're presently doing that, going to the store. Or someone could be asking you like where you're planning on going next Thursday, and you'll say, I'm going to the store, because that's your plan in the future. Now you can word it by replacing ta with be, which is the future tense of to be, and say be meg do, fill in the blank. And that would literally mean I will be going to such and such place. But I don't think that would be quite as natural, just like in English, as it would be to say I'm going to such and such place in the future. But again, in my next video, I'm going to tell y'all like a bunch of vocabulary words that you can use with these sentence structures, including even how to like expand on those original questions of where are you going, where did you go, to maybe ask something more specific, like where did you go last night, or where are you going tomorrow? Okay, anyway, I hope y'all are looking forward to that, and I hope you enjoyed this video too. If you did, be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. And also, if you found these notes on the side that I've had to be helpful, you can find them on my Facebook and on my Instagram, both of which I'll link down below. Through my Facebook, you can download these as pictures directly to your phone, or I guess your computer or whatever. On Instagram, you can't download them, but you can screenshot them, or you can save them within the app to a special album. I always post my video notes to both places, but I post extra things to my Instagram that I don't post on Facebook, because Facebook is a pain and I don't like using it whenever I can get away with it. So be sure to follow me on Instagram for this and more. But anyway, thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Slangafol!